Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Lunch Hour, brought to you by Constant Collab, where we eat, sleep, and breathe finance, news, and everything in between. So if you like finance, news, and crypto, make sure to subscribe. We have a great show lined up for you guys today, so let's dive in. It's Friday, the weekend is just around the corner, and it looks like Mr. Brian Arn is in a different location. Brian, where are you right now?
What's up, Braulio? I'm in Salem, South Carolina, on Lake Huey. I'm babysitting my nephew, Peppy. Peppy, you want to come say hi? Come up here. Come up here. Come on. Come on up here. Come on. Say hi.
What's up, Peppy?
What's up? We're just chilling
Nice.
today.
Nice. So, like always, we are going to start with the overall crypto. So, we are on Coin Market Cap, and the crypto market cap, the overall crypto, is at $2.66 trillion. The 24-hour volume is at 148 billion. Bitcoin is still at 44% dominance, and Ethereum, it's ticked up a little bit since yesterday. It went up about 0.7% at 19.7. The overall crypto is up 6% or 3%. And I always grab the wrong mouse. I have two mice right next to each other, and I always grab the wrong one to control the screen. So Bitcoin right now is up 2.28%. It's sitting at 62,714. Ethereum is in trading at all-time high territory at about 4,429, up 5.75%. Wow. 11.23 for the week. And then BNB finally broke out of the 480 range that it was trading for about 2 to 3 weeks. It's trading at 525, up 7.83%, 8% for the week. That is awesome for BNB. That is Binance Coin for those that don't know. And then Shiba Inu, I gotta mention Shiba Inu, like, people are very interested in it right now. It's trading at 0.0007,351. I honestly don't know how to say that number. I don't know if it's 1 millionth or 1 billionth of a penny, but that's where it is right now. It's up 2.82%, 165% for the week. Doge has retraced a little bit. It's currently sitting at the 10th spot at 28, almost 29 cents, and it's down 8.18%. It's still up 20% for the week. That's not shabby at all. But right now, overall, the market is green, which is a good thing. Not a bad thing at all. As previously mentioned, it is up 3% overall. So moving up to one chart that Brian wants to talk about. This is what? Crypto.com, Brian?
Yeah, this is crypto.com. We've discussed crypto.com, a couple times on the lunch hour and certainly in the Constant Collab Telegram chat, but in general, crypto.com has been all over news headlines with campaigns for global charities and other organizations and campaigns, as well as sponsoring UFC events, sporting events, NFL and Fox, etc. So their name is everywhere. It's been respecting this channel since about 2019. But as you can see, it's trying to break out, and it has a lot of potential. If you look at a Binance coin, in the 500s with that, 700x all-time high. Obviously, Binance coin, has that open source network and other features that some exchange coins don't have. But if you look at the potential in that space, you would say, hey, crypto.com can easily, reach 5, 10, 20 bucks a coin and give a nice return for the space that they're making and the impact they're having in the marketplace.
Right. And that's one of the projects that we talked about either on our episode yesterday or the day before. Make sure you check those out, where Matt Damon signed up a marketing partnership with them to for a global, marketing of, educating people on crypto and crypto.com as an exchange and a company. So to your point, that is a great project to look into. And exchange tokens overall, as mentioned before on our previous shows, they have something to back, the cryptocurrency that they're trying to sell. So it has some tangible assets to back it. It's not like you're putting your money on air. You're just not betting. You're not gambling. you're actually supporting an actual project. So make sure you guys check out crypto.com. According to this chart, it's up 17% for what's that, on the weekly or the daily?
This is a weekly. So it's having a great week. And as you can see on the scale on the right, the potential has a lot of potential.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that to us, Brian.
Sure.
And then moving on to our very first article, as previously mentioned, we have to talk about SHIB at least once or twice on the show, because that people are pouring money into it, and we're here to educate people and give them the best information that we can. So Robinhood might not add SHIB as soon as people expected, and here's why. So I have some highlights down here. The second largest, most popular meme cryptocurrency, SHIB, has staged a massive rally this month, skyrocketing as high as 1,000% and flipping Doge. And right now that is accurate. I think SHIB, as we previously saw, is on the 9th place, and Doge is right behind it on the 10th. But Robinhood is not breaking its neck to list SHIB, and here's why. The SHIB army is not demanding on Twitter to get SHIB listed on Robinhood app, but the petition on change.org requesting the same has been signed by almost 400,000 users. However, the management team on Robinhood is not in a rush to list any new altcoins, including SHIB, since they are waiting to get more clarity regarding any new coins they may add support for. Doge, however, is already trading on the platform and saw its transaction volume go up a whopping 62% in Q2 of this year. I mean, that's one thing that the SHIB army is, they wanted that for a while. There were rumors last week that they may be adding it to their platform, but as you guys can see here, that might not be the case, or at least not anytime soon. I think it could happen in Q4 or early Q1 of next year, but as Robinhood has stated, they are waiting for more clarity and to support new altcoins. What do you think, Brian? What's your bet on it? When do you think they list it?
It's nice to see a little bit of rational behavior in the market. I think Robinhood and probably their more seasoned legal team now is probably a little bit better off at warning their internal operations, at saying, hey, we've gone through some stuff before. They had that scandal a couple years ago where one of their amateur traders saw a super negative balance and ended up committing suicide over trading options, and just an array of bad headlines. So we talked about yesterday how it's sort of alarming how quickly SHIB grabbed or flipped Doge and grabbed such a high level market cap as it relates to the utility coins and the other real projects that are out there. And so I think maybe they're just trying to actually protect investors this time. Maybe they're trying to say, hey, let's not rush into this. Let's not have all of our amateur traders jump into this without knowing what's going to happen, because in general, when it is time for them to sell, Robinhood goes down for scheduled maintenance anyway, just like Coinbase. So yeah.
And that's a great point. That is something that I was going to mention. Actually, they should, Robinhood should focus on expanding their infrastructure, especially if they expect the volume that SHIB would bring to them. I mean, currently, when the whole,
it would crash Robinhood.
Oh, absolutely. Period. When the thing was going on with GME and AMC, they couldn't handle that. So just imagine, $32 billion in volume just move onto Robinhood, or let's say 10% of that goes onto their platform. I mean, that would be a tremendous amount of people trying to trade on their platform, and that is
totally.
That is something that Coinbase also needs to work on. Coinbase has literally been a leader since its inception when it comes to cryptocurrency, and they're still, whenever they get a large inflows of people to their app, it crashes. So instead of trying to, I actually appreciate what Robinhood is doing here. They're to your point, they're being a little more rational when it comes to just adding new assets to their platform. So yeah, no, I think that's good. But to my question, when do you think they added? Do you think they added beginning of next year, end of Q4?
That's a good question. I guess that all depends on this battle with the CFTC and the SEC and any of our local U.S. regulatory clarity. Given that Robinhood is sort of the domestic competitor here, I tend to believe that they're not on our side. So my answer for this is it'll get listed at a time where the price has some downside available. That's all I'm going to say. I think the day it goes into Robinhood, maybe wait a day or two before buying. That's what I would say.
I totally agree with that statement right there. But moving on other news, we have. Let me close this. XRP on-chain data flashing signal that historically leads to price rises, according to Santiment. Blockchain analytics firm Santiment is predicting that based on two metrics, XRP ledger native asset XRP could go up in price. Santiment says on Twitter that an increase in the number of addresses on the XRP network and a rise in social media mentions signals that XRP value could increase. What do you think about this, Brian?
It's interesting. It seems like, I don't know. I feel like the U.S. investors were the ones that pulled out the most, and maybe they're sitting here realizing that the SEC is full of shit, and they're figuring out that they can get on Uphold and BitTrue and all these other exchanges and get back into XRP. And so there was a phase where Coinbase wasn't even showing you your XRP value if you held it in there. Now all of that's functioning again. And so everyone's just kind of looking around. It's like that Spider-Man meme, like where all the Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. And in general, the one Spider-Man we should be pointing at is the SEC. We've beaten that like a dead horse. But yeah, I like this article. I think they're putting together a very basic correlation between new wallet addresses and mentions on Twitter. But that's how we also speculate shitcoins. So I guess it works everywhere. So
yeah, and unfortunately, they're just using, especially the social media mentions. Like, yes, that shows how much people are interested in any given project or anything like that. But XRP and Ripple, those are companies that have other partnerships and stuff like that. And early this week, they just launched a corridor with in North Africa and in the Middle East. So and the Middle East has a outflow of remittances topping $78 billion a year. So I mentioned that if the XRP ledger takes 10% of those remittances that move in and out of the Middle East, we're talking about $7.8 billion that just like that moves to the XRP ledger.
And again, we find ourselves talking about XRP all the time, but if you look at the circulating supply and what's available as it relates to liquidity, I mean, for example, your and I's XRP is not necessarily liquid. There's no banks or exchanges can utilize our XRP to bridge currencies, so to speak, right? But on the other side of that equation, you have 99 billion something left circulating, right? And we need, if all 99 billion of those were available and the price was at $1, that's the liquidity pool available, right? And so the price is going to have to respond as these corridors keep opening up, because there's going to be more demand for that liquidity, and the circulating supply is being hodled by retail investors across the world and most likely being scarfed up by big banks and institutions. It's the most suppressed price action I've ever seen. So that's what we're really waiting on here.
So that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand, Brian, when I try to explain to them that market cap has nothing to do with the actual value of a token, because there's 100 billion of any given asset. It doesn't mean that said asset cannot reach 10, 20, 30, $100, because whatever retail investors or any other individual institution is holding in their wallet, that's not being traded. That reduces the actual supply in circulation. So a lot of people, they're like, oh no, there's 100 billion. There's no way that XRP can reach $100. That would make it a $10 trillion market cap. I'm like, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. And I'm not sitting here saying that XRP is going to hit $100 this bull cycle. I don't know. Again, anything could happen, especially if we get, if there's a settlement and XRP is not declared a security and it starts trading in the US with no problem. Um, anything could happen, but the market cap argument that a lot of people like to use on Twitter and YouTube, I'm like, that's irrelevant. And a couple of years ago, actually, the person running the CFTC at that point, he said to Congress, he said, the market, using market cap to try to assess the value of a crypto project, it's irrelevant. The market cap is used for companies, to determine the exchange of their stock and stuff like that, because they have more of an intrinsic value. That's how do you value a network? A network like Ethereum, for example. How do you value the internet?
Well, it's the going concern model too, right? What's it worth going, like if it needed to trade hands today, for example, et cetera, what would you buy it for? And so that's where, if Ripple, so to speak, were to trade hands, they'd be getting a good price at the market capitalization today because the value is much greater.
Exactly.
And we're about to see that, and we'll probably see some overvalued extensions because that's how it works. But it still is yet to find its true value. Absolutely.
I agree. That's one reason, just to mention Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin itself and the whole crypto market, it's so volatile, because the entire industry is still trying to find its actual value. Gold went parabolic when the U.S. moved away from the gold standard, and they were pretty much hodling all the gold, and so this asset class is still trying to find. Let's say the true value of a Bitcoin is $1 million. Once it finds that value, it's not going to fluctuate, 50, 60, 70% on a given, quarter, because everybody has decided that that's the value per coin, per Bitcoin. The dollar amount will be larger because we're talking about $1 million, but the percentage amount will be, just like the stock market, 2, 3, 4% at the most. So there's, when it comes to every asset or every crypto in the market, all of them are still trying to find their true value per se.
For sure.
And that's why the market overall is so volatile. But let's move on to the next topic. So FATF updates regulatory guidance for cryptocurrency industry. So this article is a little long. I'm obviously not going to read all of it, but the Financial Action Task Force, the Global Anti-Money Laundering, Counterterrorism Financing Standard Setter, released this week's updated guidance on virtual assets and virtual asset service providers to guide how countries implement their crypto regulation. The rapid development, increasing functionality, growing adoption, and global cross-border nature of VAs therefore makes the urgent action by countries to mitigate the MLTF risk presented by VA's activities and VASP a key priority. Sometimes I hate how some of these articles are written like this.
Yeah, they've got a lot of jargon in there, but essentially what's happening is, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is also sparked by some of the NFT action we're seeing, where essentially, the global elite and large, 1%ers are buying NFTs at lower prices and then selling them back to themselves at these new all-time highs of, like, as of today, $500 million to sort of move money around. And so both that and the global regulatory news we're seeing every day. We have an article coming up about another country and their regulatory presence, I think is generating FATF's response here to say, hey, as part of this adoption comes, bad things if we don't look into it and regulate it. And we need to be aware of this, right? So the VAs or the virtual assets, they need to be monitored. And here they are talking about NFTs. I'm sure they know exactly what's going on, right?
Yeah, and just to summarize these 4 points, these are the four parts that they've updated in their new guidance. So for stable coins, they want countries to create measures to mitigate any money laundering and terrorist financing for stablecoins, since they're so easy to transact. And then peer-to-peer transaction, although not explicitly subject to AML CFT controls, peer-to-peer transactions could be used to circumvent controls and could pose money laundering and terrorist financing. So that is something that to keep in mind when it comes to peer-to-peer transactions. And then NFTs, just like you mentioned, NFTs are generally not considered to be virtual assets under FATF's definition. However, some NFTs could be considered as virtual assets if used for payment or investment purposes. So that's also something to keep in mind. And then the last one is DeFi, decentralized finance. A DeFi application is not a VASP, but creators, owners, operators, or person who hold control or sufficient influence over DeFi arrangement would be considered VASP and be subject to AML regulations. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and I think it's gonna happen now if DeFi exchanges are not sufficiently decentralized. So
that last point really focuses on what's happening with Ripple, right? I mean, Ripple's what quote unquote 100% decentralized, but you've got Brad Garlinghouse,
a large company, yeah,
and those guys, the creators, who's really the whole focal point of this. It's three dudes in the SEC holding up the whole party here.
A whole ecosystem, a whole blockchain, and that's one thing to keep in mind when it comes to using Uniswap or 1inch or anything like that. Any DeFi that's controlled by a party that has majority control over the platform, those individuals could be sued by any agency to start implementing know your customer laws and KYC and anti-money laundering. So that's one thing that DeFi exchanges need to keep in mind when they're doing airdrops or trying to decentralize their exchange from the get-go. So that's FATF's new guidance. So, and then moving on, just like you mentioned, India likely to regulate crypto, not ban it in upcoming budget report. So India was one of the countries that, for the past 3 years, there were rumors going around that they were going to ban crypto. And every time, a new report would come out, the entire crypto market would dump 10, 15, 20%. Just because India has such a large population, and taking that away from them would be detrimental to the ecosystem. Although if you look at China, China completely banned it right now, but it hasn't really affected. And China has what, 1 billion, 2 billion people population. So I guess looking back, it's really not. It really doesn't affect the ecosystem and whatnot. Although a lot of Chinese people have circumvented, the regulations by using DeFi. I know DYDX has become a very popular DeFi exchange with Chinese traders. But reading this briefly, the Indian government is likely to regulate cryptocurrencies in its upcoming budget in February, moving away from its earlier approach of seeking to impose an outright ban. A law covering cryptocurrencies will most likely be discussed in the country's next general budget, the report said, citing Indian Finance Ministry officials. The government is likely to opt for regulating cryptocurrencies as an asset class similar to commodities, with appropriate taxation of transactions and gains. And in my opinion, I think that's the best approach. Cryptocurrency as of right now is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and by taxing that, you're just bringing revenues to your country. So why would you want to ban it outside of wanting to control your people like China's trying to do with its own crypto? But I think that's the right approach. Brian, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I think look at what's happening in Western countries like El Salvador, and even in some of the other spaces as well. It's participate or get left behind, and Africa is another great example as well. And it's great to see new corridors and activity opening up there. So it's great to see India catching up, and I think these narratives are intended to create FUD in different demographics and regions across the world. So good to see the reverse happening.
Yeah, and again, these are the countries that are not going to get left behind, and they're being future oriented. You know, they're trying to adopt new technology, just like the US wrapped its arms around the internet in the early 90s. That's what these other countries are trying to do, you know, El Salvador and India, with these new regulations and whatnot. They have to create a healthy environment where innovation can thrive, without making capital leave their country. So I think this is the right approach. And with that being said, we are going to move on. And this is the NFT that supposedly sold for, it might be too big for the screen. It is what it is. But the 500 million CryptoPunk, why this record-breaking NFT sale isn't quite what it seems. So to Brian's point, I'm just going to summarize it. This individual, he sold the NFT that you guys saw to his wallet, to his own wallet, for $500 million, 532 million. According to the report, he pretty much did this to trigger, you know, people talking about it and stuff like that, to trigger talks in the NFT market. And in my opinion, it worked. I've seen this all over the internet. I've seen this all over YouTube. We're sitting here talking about it.
I think I saw it got beat today already too. So somebody else was like, anything you can do, I can do better. Yeah.
So somebody saw.
So we got rich people selling NFTs to themselves to promote NFTs, which in theory that's why, you know, FATF and the CFTC or whatever regulatory body wants to step up and do something probably should, because we should just buy all the NFTs that are cheaply priced and just wait for them. It's just like inflating the housing market. They're just inflating prices on NFTs this way.
That's exactly what they're doing. Not exactly healthy for the market. You know, it's a little misleading, unfortunately. But to your point, that's what rich people are doing, and they're just playing around with NFTs, I guess. So I will tell you though, it is a cool looking NFT though. I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
I wouldn't pay $500 million for it, not even if I had the money, but it's kind of cool looking. It's unique. And then the last article for the day, introducing Meta, a social technology company. So, went too far. Our annual Connect conference brings together. Did I skip something? Yes, I did. Today at Connect 2021, CEO Mark Zuckerberg introduced Meta, which brings together our app and technologies under one company brand. Meta's focus will be to bring the metaverse to life and help people connect, find communities, and grow businesses. So, long story short, it's no longer Facebook, the company. It will be called Meta, but Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram, all of Facebook's original companies, they will retain the same name. So Facebook will still be Facebook and Instagram will still be Instagram. But overall, the whole company governing the entire ecosystem will be Meta. So Mark Zuckerberg and the people at Facebook, they're taking a huge leap into the metaverse. And they are talking about, you know, gaming and people being able to get together. So somebody on the comment, Mr. Mike Arndt, asked he's asking if I'm saying to invest with your eyes. Hey, this is not financial advice. Yeah, I'm just putting the news out there and letting people know what's going on. But Facebook definitely has huge potential, especially getting to the metaverse and stuff like that. If you guys haven't seen Ready Player One, it's honestly one of my favorite movies out there. It will, you know, explain what's going on with the metaverse and whatnot. But just imagine, you know, being able to exchange items that you find in games and being able to take those items to a virtual party and stuff like that in a virtual meeting. I mean, that's the future of the metaverse. And Facebook, Meta now, is taking a huge leap in this industry. What do you think, Brian? What do you have to say?
Yeah, I know we're going to talk a lot more about this next week on our new show, Crypto After Dark, which we're going to start on Monday night. But in general, there's two polar aspects to this. It's, you know, there's people talking about how Mark Zuckerberg's just changing his name from Facebook to Metaverse to get rid of some of the legal backfirings that Facebook is still ongoing behind the scenes. Just not an important topic in the middle of a pandemic. And then on the other side, there's concerns about what this means over, human control in the future. Are people being taken out of reality even further? And so, all kinds of different things. But in general, super exciting time to be experiencing some of this, and we'll see how it progresses, and we'll certainly talk more about it next week on Crypto After Dark.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, long story short, Facebook is going knees deep into the metaverse. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 5 to 10 years in the whole ecosystem. You guys are early. You guys are extremely early when it comes to metaverse and those projects. Just to mention some honorable mentions, look into Gala Games. Flare Network just partnered with Gala Games to develop their own metaverse and their own NFT marketplace. Engine is another one that's great with the metaverse and NFTs. And then Chili's, that's another project that you guys should look into when it comes to metaverse and gaming. So that's all we have for you guys today. I hope everybody has a great weekend. As Brian mentioned, on Friday, Crypto After Dark we'll go live. We'll cover.
No, we're not. That's going to be on Monday.
What did I say?
You said Friday.
Oh my! Well, today's Sorry.
Don't get on. Tonight.
Yeah, it's been a long week. This is has been our first full week doing this show, but next Monday, Crypto After Dark will go live. We'll cover NFTs, the metaverse, anything new in crypto. Brian will be the main host when it comes to that show, so we are super excited for it. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you have any suggestions for anything that you want us to cover on Crypto After Dark and the lunch hour, leave it in the comments. Like, share this video. We're trying to get the news out there, get people educated, and give them the most informed and up-to-date news. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great weekend, and God bless.